So the Oklahoma City Thunder are currently 4-7 on the NBA season and 0-6 against Western Conference teams. So it's no doubt this team is having chemistry issues and really just a lot of struggles in general. Now it still is early enough in the NBA season where we can just kind of chalk it up to chemistry and be like, no man, this team is going to click together eventually. But you know, it's starting to get closer and closer to that point where maybe this team is just poorly put together. So for today's video, guys, I do want to talk about some of the main issues with the OKC Thunder and hopefully give you guys my thoughts on how this team could be fixed going forward, unless, you know, the general manager just wants to be like, not admit their mistake and just keep the team how it is and just have them struggle and be a first round exit, or maybe not even a playoff team in the Western Conference. Okay, so the first thing the OKC Thunder did this offseason was, of course, they signed Paul George. That was a big deal, man, because it literally allowed the Thunder to hit the reset button after the Kevin Durant era, because of course Kevin Durant is better than Paul George. Not like a great stretch right there, but you know, he is better than Paul George. But at the same time, the Russell Westbrook that plays now is better than the Russell Westbrook that played with Kevin Durant. So, you know, that talent difference right there between, you know, all those factors kind of balances itself out, where this team was pretty much kind of just like that KD Russell Westbrook team talent-wise. So what I think this team's issue is they, by signing or trading for Carmelo Anthony, is they are trying to be like the Golden State Warriors, and that just does not work, man, because what makes the Golden State Warriors work is that every player has their role, and yes, there are guys on that team that are so great at offense. You know, we got Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant. All those guys can fill up the basket, but at the same time, they do other things really well. Klay Thompson plays the defense out there. Stephen Curry, he's the playmaker. He's the passing guy out there. Kevin Durant's just great. And then you have Draymond Green, who is just kind of the glue guy on the team. So we look at the OKC Thunder. Well, what do you have, man? You have a Russell Westbrook that we know is a guy that needs the basketball in his hands to dominate the game. I mean, whether it's attacking the basket or getting other players involved. You have Paul George. Now, Paul George, I think, is actually a great fit alongside Russell Westbrook. I think that was fantastic. He's a guy that can kill you with the catch and shoot. He was actually a small forward that actually was up there in the league and scoring off catch and shoot shots from, you know, the point guard and whatnot. So that's a great fit alongside Russell Westbrook. But then you have Carmelo Anthony. So when they trade for Carmelo, everybody was like, yo, Melo is just going to sit on the three-point line. It's going to be like Olympic Carmelo Anthony up in there. And that's just not the type of player Melo is in the NBA. Melo is actually like pretty much, he's not quite leading this team in scoring. Russell West, or I'm sorry, not in scoring, but in shot attempts. Now Russell Westbrook shooting 17.8 shots per game, and Carmelo is shooting 17.4. But that is not what Melo needed to be. Melo needed to be the third option, but he is currently leading the team in scoring. But what Carmelo is he's simply a ball stopper on a team that does not need that. Now, I'm not saying Carmelo Anthony is a bad player. I definitely think he has his room in the NBA on the, you know, on the right squad out there. A guy that, you know, a guy that you want to run your offense through. But that's just simply not mesh. That's not what the OKC Thunder needed with Carmelo Anthony. I mean, a good example I like to bring up is the San Antonio Spurs from back in the day, guys. Another team that just really fit their roles well. You had Tony Parker out there, who was the guy that would attack the basket, was the distributor. You had Miles Ginobili, he was a shooter, he was a sixth man. Then you had Tim Duncan, who you ran through the post. That's why that team was a dynasty, because it's all guys that played into a system and did not try to have the system, you know, surround them out there. And you know, the OKC Thunder, of course, are having their issues. You look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's the same song and dance out there. They signed all these big name players out there trying to be like the Golden State Warriors, trying to build an NBA super team, but they built it with guys that are too similar to other guys on the team. Derrick Rose and Dwayne Wade, not great shooters, guys that like to slash to the basket, guys that need the ball in their hand to dominate. Well, LeBron James is the guy you run the ball through for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that's just not really working out there either. You look at the Houston Rockets. Chris Paul is not currently playing, so without Chris Paul, James Harden has the ball in his hands, he's taking all the shots, and the Houston Rockets are doing awesome out there. Now, Chris Paul is too much of a similar player to James Harden, where I just think it's kind of a step backwards, or it's just kind of a player on the team that was not really needed. So you go back to the OKC Thunder, you run the ball through Carmelo Anthony. You know, you have Russell Westbrook that you want to be attacking the basket and distributing. He passes it out to Melo. Melo's just like shooting the ball. He's being a ball stopper. It's just absolutely horrible out there. Not only that, but you put maybe perhaps the worst player alongside Russell Westbrook and Andre Roberson, who they signed to a $30 million deal. A guy that just doesn't shoot. He just doesn't shoot. And when he does, he bricks it, man. He bricks it bad. Yes, he brings good defense, but that's about it, man. What you needed to do for this team is you needed to have Russell Westbrook, Paul George. You needed to put a shooter at the shooting guard position to spread the floor out for penetration to the basket by Westbrook and also Paul George at times. You needed a stretch four out there, a guy that did not really need the ball in his hands, but a guy you could just kind of kick it out to. sort of maybe like a Michael Green or a Ryan Anderson or even a Patrick Patterson, who they signed on this team to be their starter, although he's only shooting 29% on the season and only about 30% from three, so he's not exactly working out there himself either. So it's just like they just added this big name player who has been known to kind of stall up offenses, and it was just absolutely a horrible idea, guys. Just absolutely horrible idea. And, you know, a lot of people thought Carmelo was going to change. Like I was saying earlier, they thought he was going to become Olympic Melo, but he just is the player he is at this point. There's no change in the guy at the age of 33, man. So I really think what this team needs to do is, you know, obviously Carmelo's probably not going to get traded this season because the GM's just going to keep on saying, oh, it's going to be working together eventually, but it's really not. And, you know, Russell Westbrook, I know he's on a multi-year contract deal, so he's not going anywhere, so you definitely got, you know, time with him. You got Paul George, who has a player option after this season, so I know he's going to be around probably for a while. And my guess is he probably will sign back with the OKC Thunder, unless, you know, he decides that he's really fed up. Especially, man, yo, if this GM goes off and gives Melo an extension, then I definitely could see Paul George leaving to the Lakers or somebody like that. But I don't know, man. I just think this team was poorly put together. And really, it's just because of the Carmelo Anthony deal. I mean, I know a lot of us, you know, basketball fans was geeked up about this man joining this team, but plain and simple, guys, just not going to work out. I mean, the team just is not really built correctly. It should have been around Russell Westbrook. It should have been shooters out on the perimeter, and then Paul George, a guy that can catch and shoot, but also take over when needed when Russell Westbrook is having a bad game. But instead, they just added an offensive clogger to the team, and I don't know, man. I love Melo. I think he's a great player, just in the wrong system. And I feel like he's been in the wrong system pretty much since he left the Denver Nuggets. Even on the New York Knicks, he kind of had his struggles there. Yes, he had his good seasons, but even that team only made the playoffs once. So it's not like Melo is really showing that he can lead a team, and that just comes down to him not changing as a player, not being the player that the NBA needs. He simply cannot be the #1 option on a championship team, and he's trying to be that #1 option, and he just isn't. Anyway, guys, give me your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much in this video, but of course, guys, I want to give you all my thoughts on the OKC Thunder. Hopefully they can turn around for the sake of just good basketball. I want to see these star players. I want to see the Russells, the Paul Georges dominate the game of basketball and hopefully contend against the Golden State Warriors.